Hey everybody, most radical man ever. I hadn't made a video, podcast, blogcast, or anything for quite some time. So on a little hiatus, I guess. Anyway, I wanted to thank you YouTube teachers for teaching because I learned stuff. I know your God is not mammon because you're not getting paid. And one thing that's really cool is you don't have to squeeze out something every Sunday. You get your revelation, you synthesize it, you let it assimilate, then you take the time to give it to me. And I want to just let you know that I appreciate it. Now, one of my pet peeves is false doctrine. The very first question in the Bible is, "Hast God said?" And one of the things I've noticed is that one of Satan's devices is to twist Scripture or get us to question what God actually was saying in his original autographs. And there are some doctrines that are non-salvational that we like to argue over. And one of the things that I think there's a huge problem with the 70th week in Daniel chapter 9, the popular doctrine of the day definitely has some holes in it. I'm not saying I completely disagree with it. I'm not saying that I agree with it, but I do want to talk about some holes there. I can go ahead and read it for you. King James Version. Gabriel is interpreting one of Daniel's dreams, and here we go. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation in that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Now that's a mouthful. Now, there are several problems that I think could possibly disqualify this 7-year tribulation that pretty much everybody is in agreement is going to happen. It all comes from this 70-week prophecy. Somehow or another, the people that adhere to this doctrine are separating the 70th week here from the 69th. I think this started with Darby less than 200 years ago. It's a very recent doctrine, and it has really caught on like fire. Now, who is this that's confirming the covenant? Jeremiah 31:31 says that the Messiah is going to confirm, that God will confirm a new covenant with Israel. Now, we all know that Jesus' ministry was approximately for 3.5 years while he was alive in his present body at that moment. And then he was cut off in the midst of the week. Does that sound familiar? Okay. Jesus even continued post-cross. It's Christ that lives in us, confirming his new covenant. This can be proved by when he was teaching the disciples on the road to Emmaus. That was post-cross. Now, from some of the readings that I've come across, the end of that week, the covenant week, could have ended with the stoning of Stephen. Now, this is a possibility. It's a little far out there, but the stoning of Stephen could have possibly symbolized the end of that age, of that week, saying the gospel is no longer just for the Jews, okay, but it's also to go to the Gentiles. This can be verified by Peter's dream. Peter had the dream on the tanner's house where he interpreted that as, I'm not going to preach just to the Jews anymore, we're going to go to the Gentiles as well. Now, the other scripture here, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week, he shall cause a sacrifice and the oblation to cease. People, this is very, very simple. when Jesus died, at that very moment, the veil was ripped in two, the sacrifice stopped. From God's point of view, the sacrifice stopped. If you continue to sacrifice, you are counting the blood of this new covenant that was being confirmed by the Messiah as nothing. You were trampling underfoot the Son of Man, and you were committing blasphemy by refusing to accept the blood of the new covenant. Also, the word desolate is there in determining to make it desolate. In Matthew 23:38, Jesus says, "Behold, your house is left unto you desolate." This is contrasted to when he says earlier, "My Father's house shall be a house of prayer," which means that God was in it at one point and then God has left. Have you ever noticed in the New Testament as you're reading that they taught in their synagogues? Meaning it was no longer God's synagogues. Okay? He wasn't there, so it was desolate. Also, Jesus determined that it would be destroyed. In Matthew 24:2, I'll read that one for you. He says, "See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." In other words, Jesus was saying, hey, it's gone. It's going to be over. This is going to be destroyed. Also, I wish I was better at Hebrew. I really do, because I've been having a problem with how they get the word he in Daniel 9:27 as being the Antichrist in the first place. It's been long held for many centuries that the he there is Messiah. Okay. Also, the word many is an interesting indication. He will confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Jesus clearly uses the Daniel type phrase when he says that his blood shall be of the new covenant will be shed for many in Matthew 26:28. Let me read that for you. "For this blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins." So then also for I think the problem here is that people are trying to they're trying to force fit. They're taking their theory and they're trying to make scriptures fit. And that's not how we are to do things. We're supposed to take the scriptures, let the Spirit of truth guide us into all truth, and then come up with a doctrine. Now, this 70th week doctrine, where they divorce the 70th week from the 69th week, I'm not saying that it's completely wrong, but I am pointing out that there's some serious holes that we need to look at. And also, Jesus himself said, "Out of the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every matter be established." Before we divorce that 70th week from the 69th in succession, I'm going to need 2 or 3 more solid witnesses. Anyway, till we meet again, dig deeper, go higher.